My dad's retirement party turned into a shocking confession no one saw coming. The day started as a perfect picture of family unity. My father's 60th birthday party was in full swing, the house alive with laughter, clinking glasses, and the murmur of conversations. Friends and relatives had gathered to celebrate the man who had always been the steady anchor of our family. My father, usually reserved, was glowing with joy, his eyes twinkling as he moved from guest to guest, shaking hands and sharing stories. The dining room table was laden with dishes that my mother had meticulously prepared. My sister Sarah and I had spent weeks planning the event, making sure every detail was perfect. For a few hours it felt like nothing could go wrong. But the truth has a way of breaking through, no matter how much effort you put into maintaining appearances. It happened as we gathered around the cake, candles flickering. My father was smiling, a childlike glee on his face as we sang, "Happy Birthday." My mother, standing next to him, wore a look that I couldn't quite place. Her smile seemed forced, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched a glass of wine. Then, just as my father leaned in to blow out the candles, my mother cleared her throat. "I need to say something," she began, her voice cutting through the cheerful chatter. The room fell silent, the weight of her words pulling everyone's attention. "I've been keeping a secret. For years." I glanced at Sarah, whose face was a mix of confusion and dread. My father straightened, his expression shifting from joy to apprehension. My mother's confession spilled out in a torrent. She admitted to an affair that had taken place years ago, one that she had kept hidden, burying it under layers of routine and family obligations. The air in the room changed immediately, the warmth dissipating like smoke. My father's face froze, his knuckles turning white as he gripped the back of his chair. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the guests. I wanted to believe I had misheard, but the devastation in my father's eyes told me otherwise. "What are you saying?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I couldn't keep it inside anymore," my mother replied, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, but I had to tell you the truth." The party unraveled from there. My father stormed out of the room, leaving a trail of stunned silence in his wake. Sarah, to my surprise, looked more resigned than shocked. When I pressed her later, she admitted she had known about the affair for years, but had kept quiet to avoid tearing the family apart. Her confession felt like another betrayal, one more weight added to the emotional wreckage of the night. Arguments erupted, guests excusing themselves awkwardly as my parents' voices rose in anger from the next room. What had begun as a celebration had turned into a battleground. The night ended with my father sleeping at a hotel and my mother retreating to their bedroom, leaving Sarah and me to clean up the shattered remnants of the party and our family. In the days that followed, the house became a cold, silent place. My father barely spoke, and when he did, his words were sharp and laced with pain. My mother tried to reach out to him, but her efforts only seemed to widen the rift. Sarah and I were caught in the crossfire, unsure of how to mend something that felt irreparably broken. Eventually, we decided to seek help. Family therapy was a suggestion my father initially dismissed, but after weeks of tension, he reluctantly agreed. The sessions were uncomfortable at first, each of us guarded and defensive. But slowly, the walls began to come down. My mother admitted she had been driven by fear of losing her family, fear of her own imperfections. She spoke of the guilt that had haunted her for years, and the relief of finally speaking the truth, even if it meant risking everything. My father, in turn, revealed the depth of his pain, not just from the affair but from feeling blindsided by the woman he had trusted most. Sarah confessed that keeping the secret had weighed heavily on her, creating a rift between her and our parents that she hadn't known how to repair. It wasn't easy. There were moments when it felt like we were making progress, only for an old wound to reopen. But amidst the tears and frustration, there were also moments of connection, shared memories, tentative laughter, and a growing understanding of each other's vulnerabilities. We're still a work in progress. My father hasn't forgiven my mother completely, but he's trying. My mother is learning to rebuild trust, one small gesture at a time. Sarah and I are closer now, our shared experiences creating a bond we didn't have before. We've stopped pretending to be something we're not, embracing the messiness of our shared history. The road ahead won't be easy, but for the first time in a long while, it feels like we're moving forward together, not as the perfect family, but as a real one. And for that, I'm grateful.